Most people think airport travel gets harder with age. Long walks. Heavy luggage. Endless waiting. Loud terminals. But something surprising is happening behind the scenes. Travelers over 60 are quietly experiencing a completely different version of the airport. While most passengers struggle for seats at crowded gates, a small group is sitting in quiet lounges with warm food, charging their devices, and waiting in comfort. No stress. No noise. No chaos. And the strange part is, they are not flying first class. They are not VIP celebrities. So how are they getting in? The answer is not one secret, it is a set of overlooked travel habits that most people never connect. And once you understand the first one, you realize airports are not as equal as they seem. Airport chaos versus lounge luxury. Before understanding the tricks, you need to see what is really happening inside modern airports. Because the difference is not small. It is almost like two separate worlds existing in the same building. Down in the main terminal, everything feels tight and loud. People are rushing because flights are delayed or rescheduled. Seats are full, so many travelers stand near charging points, waiting for a phone to reach just 10%. Food is expensive, and lines move slowly. Even simple comfort becomes a challenge. But just above or hidden behind glass doors, the atmosphere changes completely. The noise drops. The lighting becomes softer. People sit in wide chairs instead of crowded benches. Meals are already prepared. Drinks are included. And there is space to breathe. But here is where things get interesting. Most travelers assume this area is only for business class or wealthy flyers. That is not entirely true anymore. Airlines, credit systems, and loyalty programs have quietly changed how access works. And this shift is exactly why some travelers over 60 seem to move between both worlds more easily than others. Not because they are richer. But because they interact with the system differently. And that is where the first real access pattern starts to appear. But it is still not obvious to most people walking through the airport today. Trick 1: Off-peak timing advantage. The first hidden advantage is not a secret membership or a special card. It is something far simpler: timing. Many travelers over 60 naturally fly during off-peak hours. Midweek flights. Midday departures. Less crowded travel days. At first, this seems like a small detail. But inside airports, timing changes everything. Because lounge access is not only about who you are, it is also about how full the system is. When lounges are crowded during peak business hours, entry becomes stricter. Staff limit guests' access. Rules are enforced more tightly. Even walk-ins can be turned away. But during quieter hours, the atmosphere shifts. There is more space. Less pressure. More flexibility in access decisions. And this is where things become interesting. Many retired travelers don't even realize they are benefiting from this pattern. They simply travel when it feels comfortable for them, not when schedules are rushed. But that simple choice quietly increases their chances of getting into lounges without stress or rejection. Not because rules are broken. But because the system behaves differently when demand is low. And most travelers never notice this pattern, because they are always traveling at the busiest times. But timing alone is not the only hidden advantage. The next one is far more surprising, and more debated among frequent flyers. Trick 2: Loyalty that builds quiet access. The second advantage is something most travelers don't notice building in the background. It is loyalty. Not the flashy kind people talk about online, but slow, repeated travel with the same airline or airline group. Many travelers over 60 naturally develop this over time without trying. They visit family on the same routes. They return to the same destinations. They stick with airlines they trust instead of chasing every cheap deal. And over the years, that consistency starts to change what they are allowed to access. Airlines reward repeat behavior in quiet ways. Priority check-ins. Faster boarding. And in some cases, lounge eligibility on certain routes, even when flying economy. But here is where it gets controversial. Most passengers assume lounge access is only about buying business class. Frequent flyers know it is more layered than that. It is about status inside the airline system, not just the ticket you buy today. And this is where older travelers often gain an advantage without realizing it. Because while younger travelers constantly switch airlines for cheaper fares, many retirees naturally build long-term relationships with one system. And over time, that system begins to recognize them. Not loudly. Not officially announced. But quietly, through access permissions that feel almost invisible. And this is only the second layer. The next one is where money enters the picture, but not in the way most people expect. Trick 3, Premium cards and quiet perks. The third advantage is where most people think the secret begins. Credit cards. But not just any credit cards. Premium travel cards that quietly unlock airport lounge access without ever stepping into business class. Here is what makes this interesting. Many travelers over 60 already qualify for these cards more easily than younger travelers. Not because of income alone, but because of a long credit history, stability, and financial records built over decades. And once approved, these cards can open doors inside airports that feel completely separate from standard travel. Lounge networks. Partner lounges. Priority access systems. But here is the controversy. Not everyone uses these benefits properly. Some travelers pay high annual fees and never activate the travel perks. Others don't even know they already have access waiting in their account. So what looks like luxury travel from the outside is often just underused benefits sitting quietly in a system most people don't fully understand. And this is where older travelers often gain another hidden edge. Because they are more likely to value stability over chasing new offers, which means they actually keep and use these cards longer. But even this is not the most surprising access path. The next trick is where short-term travel decisions create unexpected luxury moments inside the airport. Trick 4, Day pass access during long. The fourth advantage is something most travelers overlook until they are already stuck inside an airport. Time. Long layovers change how people make decisions. When you are waiting 6, 7, or sometimes 10 hours for a connection, comfort suddenly becomes more important than cost. And this is where lounge day passes quietly come into play. Many airport lounges offer one-time entry options that most passengers ignore when booking flights. But travelers over 60 are more likely to use them when needed. Not as a lifestyle choice, but as a practical decision during long waits. And the result is a completely different airport experience. Instead of sitting in crowded gate areas for hours, they move into quiet spaces with food, seating, and rest areas. But here is where the system becomes interesting. Day passes are not always advertised clearly at the booking stage. In many cases, travelers only discover them when they are already inside the airport, looking for relief from delays. And that moment changes everything. Because once someone experiences the difference between terminal chaos and lounge comfort, their future travel decisions begin to shift. But not everyone agrees with this growing trend. Some frequent flyers argue it is making lounges less exclusive. And that debate leads directly into the final and most controversial advantage of all. Trick 5, Guest access and the hidden divide. The final advantage is the one most travelers never fully use, even when they already have it. Guest access. Many lounge programs and premium travel cards allow travelers to bring a companion inside. A spouse. A partner. Sometimes even a guest at no extra cost. And this is where travelers over 60 quietly gain a natural advantage. Because they often travel in pairs. Retired couples. Family visits. Long-planned trips together. So instead of one person benefiting from lounge access, two people move into the same quiet space. But here is where the controversy begins. Frequent flyers have started debating whether lounge access is becoming too widely shared. Some say it has reduced exclusivity. Others argue it simply reflects how modern travel has changed. More people now qualify through cards, loyalty systems, and partnerships than ever before. And that shift has created tension inside airports. Because while lounges were once seen as a hidden world for business travelers, they are now becoming more accessible through multiple pathways. And yet, even with that change, not everyone understands how to use these systems properly. Many travelers still walk past lounge entrances without realizing what they qualify for. And that is the real divide. Not wealth. Not age. But awareness. And once you see this pattern clearly, you start to realize something uncomfortable. Airports are not designed equally for everyone. And the final truth about this system is even more surprising than all the tricks combined. But it is not fully visible yet. By now, the pattern becomes harder to ignore. It was never just about lounges. It was about how travelers move through the system without realizing the advantages they already have. Timing. Loyalty. Access cards. Day passes. Guest privileges. Each one looks small on its own. But together, they quietly reshape the entire airport experience. And travelers over 60 often sit right in the middle of this system without even trying. Not because they studied it, but because their travel habits naturally align with how the system works. Still, something is changing. Airports are becoming more crowded. Lounge policies are tightening. And access rules are shifting year by year. Which raises an uncomfortable question. If these advantages are already becoming harder to use today, what will airport lounges look like a few years from now? Will these quiet access paths still exist in the same way? Or are they slowly disappearing without most travelers noticing? Because one thing is certain. The people who understand these systems early are always the ones who move through airports differently. And that difference may not stay hidden forever.